So, Marc Riley at Dock House Media City, and whilst somewhere else in the world we have Lenny Kaye. Lenny, how are you?
I'm really fine. I'm speaking to you from Oxford, Mississippi, deep in the South.
Okay, so what are you doing in Oxford, Mississippi?
My daughter and my grandchildren live here, so I'm here to enjoy Southern hospitality and, see a part of the world that I never thought I'd be having family in. But it's a beautiful place, and the people are great, and of course the musical traditions here are so amazing. So I'm just happy to be here.
Well, if anybody would know the musical traditions of anywhere, then it would be Lenny Kaye. So I'll take your word for that, most definitely. So did you enjoy your recent jaunt to the UK?
Oh, my God, how great was it? I mean, the shows at the 100 Club were off the charts. The band was great. The guests were great. The audience was so welcoming, and they enjoyed hearing those songs. I mean, I love garage rock, but in a way, it's all really about great songs and being able to sing them. And each one that came off the stage seemed to be full of life, as it was way back then and as it will be in the future.
So had you ever been to the 100 Club previously?
I saw the Sex Pistols at the 100 Club for about 5 minutes. I had gone that night with Chrissie Hynde to see Ross Michael and the Sons of Negus at the Hammersmith Palais because I was a major reggae fan. And then I came down to the 100 Club to see the last song of the Sex Pistols. And I missed the moment where our drummer, JD, told me that Johnny Rotten said, "Did you go down to the Roundhouse to see the hippies?" Well, horse shit. So, yeah, crazy. And I also saw my friends Martin Stevenson and the Dainties there a couple years ago because I ran into the guitar player on the street, and he said he was playing there. So a wonderful club, actually a true rock dive, which is how I like them.
Yeah, I mean, you have the habit of being in the right place at the right time, just stumbling across possibly the most legendary punk-associated gig anyway, was something else. And so how did you find the environment that night, having been to the gig that you'd just been to?
I thought it was great. I'm not one for, very fancy venues or anything. I mean, I really like the low end, and I like where the club is located. It's right next to Soho. Before I played there, I walked past where the Two Eyes coffee shop used to be to kind of partake of old British music business. I took a stroll on Denmark Street. And then, the 100 Club is still there. I mean, in a weird way, it's kind of like the CBGB of London. And to go into its kind of unspoiled atmosphere, to see that, all the music in the walls, when it was a jazz club, when it, hosted visiting blues musicians, it felt like the right place to hold this, Nugget celebration.
Yeah, absolutely. And funnily enough, I've just written here in my questions, lots of history in the 100 Club walls, so we're definitely on the same page here. And so how was the show itself then? So explain how it came together and how you got the band together.
Well, I have to give all credit to a guy named Joe DiLorenzo, who was the stage manager at the Cat's Cradle in Carborough, North Carolina, when I finished the last of what turned out, to my surprise, to be a series of Nugget celebrations starting in Los Angeles, San Francisco, going to New York. It just turned out to be these shows developed. I don't have anything to do with them personally. I don't like to organize things or have responsibility. I just like to show up and accept the plaudits of a grateful universe.
Quite right.
But Joe said, "Man, we should do this in London." And I said, if you get it together, I'll be there. And I gathered the band, which is a great band, Rat Scabies and Marty Love on drums, Jim Jones on guitar, Dave Traguna on bass, Greg Rice on keyboards. They learned about 40 songs, much better than I actually know them. And then he got a bunch of guests, Clive Jackson and Amanda Cross and, just great people. And we practiced for 2 days, got all the songs together, got up on stage. It was very loud and chaotic, as this music should be. And we had a great time. And the audience was so there. I mean, I have to say, anytime I thought, what is the next chord? I looked out at them, and they thought, we don't care what the next chord is. We're, just play it loud.
Well, we know some of those guys, and we know Jim Jones very well. He's played on this program many times, and he, again, talking about being steeped in rock and roll, that is Jim, most certainly.
Oh yeah, they all. I mean, I have to say, everybody was so great. Jim learned all the parts because I know most of these songs, but I don't learn them letter perfect. I just let them fly. Rat Scabies, I got to say, he was an awesome drummer.
He's amazing.
He was really amazing. Sometimes I think of him as like a punk rock drummer, which would be boom, chick, bum, 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 bum. But man, he was warming up, and I thought I was listening to Cozy Cole. He was, and everybody had such a great spirit. They enjoyed themselves. They worked hard. And the 2 nights were just about as great as I could imagine them.
Brilliant. And I tell you what, I had a word with a friend of mine, who's a comedian called Stuart Lee, and Stuart went to the show, and he said it was amazing. He said that the only disappointment was that you should have name-checked the go-go dancers.
They name-checked themselves.
Did
That's
they?
all I have to say.
Okay, all right.
They were great.
Yeah.
They were fantastic. I mean, the spirit in the room. This is music that's, over half a century old, 60 years in some of it.
Yeah.
And I like to think when I put together the original Nuggets, that would have been like going back 60 years from them. You would have been, pre-original Dixieland jazz band. I mean, you're still in, when records were moving from cylinders to being flat discs. The fact that this music lives on in such a visceral way that it still provides inspiration and illumination and a basic desire that is the root of what Nuggets is. It's like elemental desire and yearning. That's what I think of it. And the fact that the music still communicates after all these years, and that I get to communicate it after all these years, is really a remarkable miracle. And I have to say, I felt very elevated by the whole night.
Well, and it's a celebration of your album, Nuggets. And let's go back to 1972. You were working in a record shop and you were doing some writing. Is that about the size of it? And you'd already met Patti Smith at this point.
I had just started to meet. I met Patti Smith right about toward the end of 1970. I was a rock writer. I wrote an article in Jazz and Pop on a cappella doo-wop music, which was a very niche thing in a tri-state area from New York to Philly. And, she read it and she called me up out of nowhere and started stopping in the record store where I worked, Village Oldies. Also at that time, I had been hired by Jack Holzman to be an independent record scout because he liked rock writers. Elektra had such a roster of intelligent artists, The Doors, Tim Buckley, Nico, that they lent themselves well to critical analysis. And so he, invited me in, asked me if I would look around for groups. He never really took on anything I found. I did try to get him to keep the Stooges for the third album.
Right.
But he had this idea called Nuggets, which would be an album of kind of what we would call deep tracks, not quite the hit single of the band, but an album, a deep track on their record, or a longer form experimental thing, or rogue tracks that were kind of undiscovered. And he gave me the project, and he never said boo. I mean, I think that's a example of trust and what made him a great record company president, that he didn't try to put his mark on it or change it in any way. He just let me have, the keys to the kingdom. And, I was a little full of myself in those days, let's be honest. I thought, so I kept asking for more.